Hello and good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, WannaCry, a war cry for quick response agentless solutions. I'm Sushant Saraswat, Senior Strategist Product Marketing at Accelerite and your host for the webinar today. Before we begin today's session, let's cover a few housekeeping announcements. If you can hear me clearly, please type in yes in the chat box window. I repeat, if you can hear me clearly, please type in yes in the chat box window. Great. Okay, I see many positive responses. That's great. All right. The webinar is approximately 40 minutes. Please note that our session is being recorded and we will make the link available to everyone after the session. We have kept everyone on mute to ensure that any background noise and conversations are kept private. To ask questions, please make use of the question box on the GoToWebinar window. We'll take all the questions at the end of the presentation, but feel free to write your comments, questions, and anything that you want us to see in the question box at any time. So that's all about the housekeeping. To begin with just a quick note about who we are. Accelerite is a Silicon Valley-based company delivering secure business-critical infrastructure software for Fortune 500s, telecom operators, and SMEs across the globe. Accelerite's product suite includes solutions for cloud lifecycle management, endpoint security, big data analytics, and Internet of Things. Accelerite is headquartered in Santa Clara with over 500 employees located in 11 offices globally. More than 3,000 customers around the world rely on Accelerite products to secure connected enterprises every day. Do visit our website, www.accelerite.com, to know more about our products. Let me introduce you all to our speaker today, Charul Sadvelkar. As Associate Vice President, Product Management, Charul is responsible for product management for Accelerite's endpoint product offerings, Sentient and Radia. Charul manages the product strategy for both product lines that together offer endpoint detection and response capabilities, analytics, along with unified endpoint management. Prior to Accelerite, Charul used to run product management for Symantec's mobility and identity and access management solutions based on public key infrastructure. Before Symantec, he served in various roles in engineering and product management at Nokia Inc. in its networks division. A veteran of the industry, Charul served in a wide range of engineering leadership roles in various Silicon Valley technology companies, such as Amber Networks and TCSI Corporation. Charul has an MBA from Duke University and a bachelor's from computer science from the University of Bombay. Charul, welcome to this webinar. Over to you.
Thank you, Sushant. Thanks for the introduction and welcome everyone. Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are. It's a pleasure to welcome you to this webinar. I wanted to start off with a little description about what's happening in today's world, right? So if you look at all the things that have been happening, this particular chart that we have here is just indicative of the kind of attacks that we see happening every day in our world. And not in the least, I mean, the most recent ones, which are top of memory for everyone, are the ransomware attacks. The WannaCry attack that happened about a month ago or so, and then the next one, the Petya ransomware attack that just came to light yesterday. So all of these things are really significant, and they cause significant disruption, significant damage to people. But this is the kind of world that we live in, and this is the kind of world that we need to protect ourselves as we get into this. The real world scenario, as lots of companies have figured out over the time, over the last decade or two, is that there are significant gaps in endpoint management and security. I mean, if you watch the ransomware attacks closely, the one that was most recent, as well as the WannaCry one, right? One of the things that people found were all of these vulnerabilities that the exploits actually relied upon were all actually available as fixes in patches. So one of the things that people have found that 75% of all legitimate websites around the world contain unpatched vulnerabilities. I mean, that's a remarkable situation that you would never think would be the case. In just the Q3 of last year, 18 million new malware samples were captured. Okay, or 60% of small businesses closed within 6 months after a cyber attack. I mean, that's really, really dangerous stuff, right? I mean, big enterprises suffer huge losses, and small enterprises, could go out of business, based on these kind of attacks. And then there are more than 4,000 ransomware attacks that occur every day since the beginning of 2016. I mean, we just hear about the two ones that were most common or most popular, or they got the most notoriety, but they do keep happening all the time. And 78% of people claim to be aware of all the risks, but they keep clicking on links in emails anyway. So this is the kind of social engineering vector that many of these softwares, even WannaCry, actually began in the initial stages as a phishing email, right? So that's how people are affected. And then what are the popular troublemakers? Ransomware, clearly ransomware is making huge news and forms a bulk of attacks that are happening in today's world. The others are just vulnerabilities, right? And these could be vulnerabilities that could get exploited in various ways, or they could just exist as vulnerability, right? And that could cause other kinds of attacks, including denial of service and so on. And on the other hand, you also have malware and trojans, okay? Or you have rogue software, things that are supposed to not be there on any of the machines. They ought not to be there, but they are there, right? So these are kind of all the troublemakers that we see in the cyberspace right now. So what does it all mean for enterprises, right? In enterprises, they experience serious challenges in getting real-time visibility. So real-time visibility across endpoints. If a new attack comes to light, just like the one that happened a couple of days ago, what can the enterprise do? They don't have a lot of time to take action, but at the same time, they have lots of devices to get the information out of. And then you have your operational tools, which are great for day-to-day operations, but they tend to have a certain velocity about them, right? And that makes it very hard to get real-time information. How about real-time alerts for file integrity, incidents, processes? Many of these attacks start as small modifications, unnoticeable modifications in file systems, in registries, and so on. And would you want to actually know about them, right? And the real-time visibility across all of your assets. I mean, endpoints is just one dimension. There are other assets across the cloud. There could be other IT assets where an agent is not visible. All of these actually live on the enterprise network. And then the other flip side of this that challenges the enterprises is, what can we do about it? If we actually did find something, can you remediate? Can you respond to an anomaly if you see it, right? Or can you slice and dice and the data that you have and get even more information so that you can actually action something as opposed to just looking at information? Can you enrich your data as you get it? Can you integrate with multiple data sources to get trends? What is a baseline? What is abnormal? What is an anomaly? And then get a complete picture from all of this. Tied to that is all of this discussion about the speed at which you can find out information, right? So one of the things that we often do is have conversations, candid conversations with our customers, partners, and we talk about how long does it take them in their current setups, right, where they have their operational tools set up, they have other mechanisms and processes and people in place, but how long does it take them anyway to identify any machines that might be exposed to a new vulnerability that was just discovered? Just as an example, so many of these patches that were not installed in the case of WannaCry or the Petya ransomware attack. Or find a rogue file on any device or server in your network. Something has entered in your network, but can you actually detect it? Or to find which virtual machines are still not at mandated security patch level. I mean, these could be virtual machines in your enterprise, they could be in your private cloud, public cloud. There's so many options, right? And then all of these are actually entry points into your network. Or how about, if you have a number of different antivirus or DLP software that you have actually identified and you feel happy about the fact that they are running in your network. But what if all of these pieces and all of these agents, they're not really running on some machines, and that's a vulnerability, and that's really an attack vector or an attack surface for for other attacks. How about machine loads, process loads across all of your network? I mean, this may not be so much about security, but the utilization factor is very important. Is there some server which may be running a business critical application? Is it coming to its knees, or is it running out of CPU? Is it running out of hard disk or memory? How can you find this out? How about machines that could be out of compliance because admin rights are enabled? I mean, admin rights being enabled is one of the biggest things that happen. People can install any software, and that software then finds its way into your enterprise network. So all of these things, are things that bother IT and security administrators. And the question really is, how long does it take you to find it? I mean, is it after an attack, or is it just weeks, days, hours, whatever it is, right? So what if there was a situation and you had a tool that could help you get this information in seconds? And that's really what I'm going to talk about today, right? So this is the tool that we have in our arsenal. It's called Sentient. What Sentient allows you to do is it allows you to type queries in freeform text format and uncover hidden issues from your entire network of endpoints. You can also receive real-time information from every single endpoint within seconds if something were to go south in your network. As the information comes, we'll classify and present the information in interactive visual and graphical formats that can be customized. So you don't have to rely on tables and lists of data. Then you can actually get a much more qualitative abstraction of what you are actually seeing, and that means that it is easier for you to make a decision on what you need to do. You could also get alerted when key events occur in your enterprise. And you can finally also opt for in-place remediation. If there are certain things that we find wrong with the endpoints, you can quickly kick off a remediation process, and it can integrate with your operational tools so that you don't have a dual source of truth in your enterprise, and you can actually control everything with your well-developed and well-supported operational processes, which you can kick off directly through Sentient. So let's talk a little bit about the couple of exploits that we witnessed recently, and then we'll talk about how Sentient can specifically help. So those of you who are familiar with the WannaCry ransomware exploit, the attack vector was initially with a social engineering attack or a phishing email, but then after that, it spreads like a worm very rapidly within a network. It exploits the vulnerabilities in the SMB protocol on Windows, and that protocol is basically generally open for most enterprises, right, for supporting file share, supporting printers, lots of different things, right? So it's a very, very pernicious ransomware here, because it actually spreads like a worm, and it spreads very fast. On compromised machines, what happens? It starts encrypting files on the victim's machines. They do follow some sort of a pattern in what extensions they encrypt first, and then starts asking, it reconfigures the wallpaper, asks for ransom to decrypt, and all data will be destroyed within some period of time, usually 7 days, right? So this is kind of the attack that WannaCry was. And if you talk about the Petya or the Petya ransomware attack that happened just yesterday or 2 days ago, in fact, to be precise, The attack vector was very similar. Okay, it spreads through, actually enters an enterprise through social engineering, phishing email, something like that. But then it uses a modified version of the Eternal Blue vulnerability in the SME. Okay, so this is slightly different, but based on the same underlying vulnerability, and it relies on another custom tool that comes out of the stack of tools that NSA had, and it's related to Mimikatz. And the malware uses a bunch of tools to move through the network. It doesn't rely only on that. So it can spread, much faster potentially. Okay, it automatically reboots the machine on compromised machine after 1 hour to the encryption, and asks for ransom to decrypt. So it does spread like a worm also, and it also is, from what we have been reading, it doesn't have an easy sort of kill switch at the moment. Although there are some workarounds people have found that can actually slow down or even stop the attack in its tracks. So all things, it's a developing situation. We'll continue to monitor what really happens. But here's what you could do with Sentient today, right? So you can detect any vulnerable endpoints. So you can generally quickly create a custom script, and that's what we have made available for our Sentient customers. So you can detect machines which might be missing critical security patches. So we have the list of patches that we already know. So we can find out. We'll also check if SMBv1 is enabled. We'll at least report on that. You may not want to actually close it depending on what else you need to use in your enterprise, but we can at least tell you what it is, what is the situation. Similarly, we can check for port 445 whether it's open or not, so you can actually figure out where the vulnerabilities might be. You can remediate vulnerable endpoints. We integrate with our operational tool, which is called Radia, and you can roll out patches in an integrated workflow. And then finally, finding potentially compromised endpoints. If unfortunately you had something compromised, then the IOCs are captured again in custom scripts. We can detect services like MSSEC, SBC, or task scheduler. We can check the registry entries, where the detecting of software installation can be done, or we can see if the wallpaper has been reconfigured. We can do file searches. We can search for specific files which we know, please readme.txt or task scheduler.exe, or we can even check by extensions, the WCRY, WRY, WNCRY, and WEncrypt, or by known hashes. There's a list of published hashes that we can find. So all of these things you can do directly with Sentient at scale in your network to find out immediately what your situation is. Similarly, you can do the same things with the Petya ransomware. Okay. Now here's where things get a little interesting, right? So one of the things that we've also realized is getting time to value from your tool is critical, right? So today we have a number of different solutions, including Sentient itself is a solution that supports an agent-based approach. So the agent-based solutions, are great. They have a lot of capability, but they do need time and effort to roll out. So you need to plan something, you need to roll out in batches, all of these things, right? So to time to get full value, from a tool like Sentient, which can scale to your entire network, takes time. Okay, it will take as long as your rollout takes, at least, right? And it'll take up resources on client machines. The agent runs, it'll take some, CPU, some memory, all of those things. And it requires client-side maintenance and upgrades. Over time, you'll have to change and upgrade versions of your agents and so on. That's where we decided at Accelerite that we also need to have an agentless solution. So the agentless solution may lack some advanced features. Certainly what happens offline on machines that may not be on the network, like laptops and stuff like that, it's hard to do something without an agent. But they do provide a very reasonable set of functionalities that can be used for all of these kind of scenarios where machines online are very critical to be assessed quickly. So you can provide value instantly after the servers are up and running. So if you actually set up a server for Sentient, you can immediately start protecting yourself from these kind of ransomware attacks. It won't take up any resources on client machines because we have nothing running. And then, of course, the maintenance and upgrades are also non-existent because there's nothing to maintain or upgrade. So the benefits of agentless are many, right? So The installation itself is quick, like I said, simple and quick. You don't have to deploy agents. You don't have to work with your existing tools like Radia or SCCM or any other tools. You can get literally up and running within a few hours instead of waiting for days. It reduces lots of overhead for you. So no installation, you don't have to have a team of people going around checking the installation, management, maintenance of an agent. Security is enhanced, no installation on endpoints, so no risk associated with somebody tampering, somebody doing an MITM, MITB type of attack, or implementing another agent and doing some kind of spoofing. None of that is possible. And then finally, you get better support. It works well with all major operating systems and applications. So all of these things make an agentless solution a very, very attractive proposition, be it, to defend ourselves against these kind of situations like ransomware, or even if it is something a little bit more mundane, like, doing an assessment for Windows 10 for your enterprise. So all of these things are very easily facilitated with very little delay with an agentless solution. Overall, it will save you time and money, and you will be able to enable your IT teams to focus on other important areas and get on with more important things that are critical to your environment. So with that, I wanted to take a few minutes, literally 4 minutes or so, just to run through a quick video of Sentient in action, so that gives you an idea of what Sentient is capable of and how it does it. So I'll play that, and then shortly after that we will continue our session.
Every endpoint and asset within your enterprise is critical and could be an attack vector for a hacker. Accelerite Sentient is a detection and remediation platform that has been designed to provide instant visibility across your corporate assets, be it virtual or real, on-premise or on cloud. With Sentient, information from hundreds of thousands of IT assets is just a few seconds away. Sentient can help you identify potential vulnerabilities in your system without having to rely on stale information from operational tools or databases. Sentient also helps you narrow down your search to get to the heart of the problem very quickly and efficiently. For example, let us run a query to locate devices that are not running the antivirus software. As you can see, using Sentient's unique architecture, the results come in continuously. And you can get all the device and asset details within a few seconds. The data can be sliced and diced by parameters such as device type, OS type, subnet, and OS version. You can drill down to each individual asset to see more details. Similarly, you can check if the antivirus running is on the latest version and has the most recent virus definitions. You can also check on DLP agents, disk encryptions, other management agents and software, patch levels, open USB ports, and more. Rogue files and processes can cause havoc in an enterprise. If you've been informed of a rogue process or file, you can look for the infected endpoints with a simple search by file name, process name, or file hash. As you locate them, you can drill down to each endpoint and remediate them straight from the Sentient console. Sentient also allows you to securely run a custom script for detecting fast-developing vulnerability situations. For example, you can run a script to detect an attack such as the Mirai botnet attack that affected IoT devices. In Mirai, Linux machines with an open port and default admin accounts could unwittingly participate in the botnet. With Sentient, you can create and deploy a custom script that can locate the infected endpoints and remediate them. Apart from querying for information, Sentient can also alert you to any events of interest within your enterprise. Going back to the Mirai example that uses port 48101 of a device, Sentient can continuously monitor any activity on the port across all your endpoints and provide instantaneous alerts. In addition, Sentient can also provide hypercurrent status of hard disk space, CPU usage, memory utilization, and more across endpoints to support multiple other IT use cases. Sentient allows you to create custom dashboards and visualizations, get multiple data enrichment options, and view rich contextual information of your complete IT environment, enabling actionable insights for better decisions.
I hope you got a good sense of what the Sentient tool is capable of. So let's move on. So I just wanted to give a sense of where Sentient is headed as a product and what you can expect to get out of Sentient. So currently, of course, the biggest emphasis for us is on the enterprise devices that you see here in the top left. So be it desktops or servers or laptops and stuff like that. So those are, the endpoints that are supported. We are actually moving towards adding support for public and private clouds and other IT assets. All of the information will be collected as these green arrows show in response to a query or an alert definition, and that information will be available in Sentient. Sentient will do some rich analytics on it. There will be remediation that you can trigger from there. There is an API that you can use to integrate with your existing security tools and operational tools. And then you can deliver on two different dimensions. You can deliver advanced systems management, just checking on logs, registry, compliance, processes, those kinds of things. Or you can do more of security focused activities like, doing incident response or threat detection or remediating situations like the vulnerabilities that we talked about. So all of this is possible with an agent-based as well as an agentless solution. So why Sentient? Sentient actually brings you the visibility to security and IT at a scale in seconds, which is actually quite unprecedented, with both agent-based and agentless solutions, providing you natural queries, alerts, analytics, all of this at scale. So whatever number of endpoints that you have on your network at any given point, you can query them immediately. And then you can also keep the query running for devices that come up on the network and go down on the network and all of that, and we can track through all of that. Sentient will allow you remediation of issues from the same console where possible, and that generally means that you can really free yourself of having these fears that you just don't know what's happening in your network. But you can not only know what's happening in your network, but you can know it fast, at scale, and then take action on it. So we got complete coverage. There's a number of different queries that are already supported in Sentient, and new ones are being added every release. Apart from that, we also give you a custom scripting capability, and that makes sure that you can actually expand the capability of the tool as you wish. You can write PowerShell scripts or Bash shell scripts, and then you can do advanced things on the endpoint. But even if you didn't do any of that, you still got covered on lots of different things like admin rights, memory, firewalls, registry, antivirus, hard disk situations, WMI health, disk encryption, all of these parameters are covered. In terms of what use cases that we see people using Sentient for, Sentient tends to be a really highly scalable query response and alerting platform within an enterprise. So you can actually do a variety of different things. Audit and compliance is big for a lot of our customers, so they do it to actually run checks on a regular basis on their devices. Also security and vulnerability, so if something has been found or some security patch updates have to be checked on all your machines, you can use it for that, and that's also a popular use case for most of our customers. You can do it for information protection. You can check on DLP status. You could do pure endpoint management to support your operational tools. You could do incident response and remediate certain devices if you want to kill rogue processes or get some patches installed, those kind of things you can do. You can also get real-time sensor data, so you can get data on file integrity events or anything else happening in your network. And finally, you can check on asset utilization if that's something of real importance to you, because there are some critical servers that depend on all of it. The sources of information largely tend to be devices, and so you'll get device and environment characteristics. We do have plan to support IoTs and mobile devices in the future, but at the moment, it's focused on the environment and operating system and security characteristics of endpoint devices. So the number of uses and applications of Sentient is unlimited pretty much. In terms of an overall story that we have here at Accelerite, so we do have an endpoint stack which we think is unparalleled in the industry right now. So at the heart of it, and the smallest circle that you see here, is all of your endpoint operations. So we provide that through our traditional RADIA, which provides you unified endpoint management and the lowest total cost of operations for all your endpoints, and that's through desired state management and automation. On top of that, you have security and compliance, which is also delivered through RADIA. And then on top of that, you have real-time queries and alerts, which you get through Sentient that we just saw. And that gives you the unprecedented visibility and threat detection and remediation across all of IT. And then ultimately, on top of all of that, we have analytics, which actually make sure that any information that you find, you can actually get some meaningful insights out of it and find a way to actually make use of that information. So this is where Sentient is at the moment, and I think it's been a great tool. Lots of our customers, actually including all of our RADIA customers or the Sentient customers, they've been actually completely covered through the ransomware attacks that happened recently. None of them had an issue. Okay, so we've checked this with customers, both with WannaCry as well as the Petya ransomware attack. Okay. So if you want to try Sentient today, a free trial is available. It's on our website. This is the link above. By all means, feel free to go there, read about the product if you have more questions, and you can click right there on the right-hand side and request a free trial. Okay. With that, I actually come to the end of what I wanted to present, and I'm happy to look into some of the questions that we might have.
Thank you, Charul, for the insightful presentation and the data you shared. The webinar is now in Q&A session. Reminding once again, the attendees can type in their questions in the query box. In case we are not able to cover all of your queries owing to time constraints, we'll surely get back to you with a response. I'm already seeing many queries. People want to know more. That's always a great sign. So, Charul, I have the first question ready for you. It's which operating system platforms does this tool run on? By this tool, they mean Sentient, I suppose, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. So Sentient runs today on the Linux platform. So any version of Linux, Red Hat Linux or Ubuntu Linux is the supported platform for Sentient.
Okay, great. Yeah, got one more. It's how does Sentient deliver this performance for query response at this scale?
Okay, that's actually a good question. So there is of course, apart from it being a little bit of a secret sauce of the product itself, but we are actually based on a very open sort of public standard, basically IoT standard stack. So it uses the messaging servers and streaming servers, which are available publicly, and they're used for IoT scale. So this is a platform that actually lends itself to scaling by way of clustering, virtually unlimited. Okay, so that there is no real limit on how much this can scale, and we can literally, we are really sure that this will work for even millions of endpoints. But we've been actually testing it actively on up to 100,000 endpoints, and that's kind of the performance that we are seeing. And this is regardless of how many endpoints or what sort of queries that you can run. But we'll be able to support that architecture, and that's how we deliver that performance.
Okay, there's few more. Is this an on-prem solution or cloud-based solution?
Yeah, the time we are talking about today, It is an on-prem solution. In the future, if there is demand, this might actually become a cloud solution as well. But
Okay. Yeah. What's the scalability that this solution supports in terms of the number of PCs? Charul, can you hear me?
connected from audio, I think.
Oh, we got you back, Charul.
Sorry. Okay, sorry
Yeah.
about that. There was some technical difficulty. I don't know how I got disconnected. But yeah, coming back to the scalability, right? So like I was saying, we do support 100,000 endpoints. We are qualified for 100,000 endpoints, but we actually do support more than that, through our clustering technology. And then it will really be scalable virtually in an unlimited fashion.
Okay. We've got time for 2 more questions, so I'll keep them the interesting ones. So how does Sentient support an agentless deployment? And it's a 2-part question. Which platforms are supported and what protocols are used?
Yeah. Okay. So that's a good question. So we do support Windows and Linux as the 2 platforms. And what actually we use is we actually use WMI actively for Windows platform, and then we rely on a combination of SNMP and SSH for Linux platforms. So that's kind of the underlying technology and protocols we use.
Sure, thanks. Coming over to the last question of the evening, if a new ransomware comes to light tomorrow, how can Sentient help me?
Oh, that's an excellent question, and that's really the the point of the whole presentation. As you saw in the video, the Mirai botnet attack is what we talked about, and that happened around October of last year. So when that botnet attack happened, we were able to create a few custom scripts, and we were able to detect not only a potential vulnerability for Mirai, as well as the if there was a Mirai attack or botnet participation of some of your endpoints underway, then we could actually detect it. Similarly, when WannaCry happened, like I mentioned, within 24 hours, we had written custom scripts that will not only detect all of the vulnerabilities so you can remediate them, but also if there was any particular IOC or an indicator of compromise in all of your endpoints, then we would be able to detect that, and through custom scripts again. We have similarly published the same things for the Petya ransomware attack that happened yesterday, and we are confident that if another ransomware attack should happen, or any other exploit should happen, even if it is something that with an existing Sentient deployment or a brand new Sentient deployment, you should be able to create a quick custom script that will actually track what you need to track, and then we'll get a quick assessment across your entire network. And we're going to do it regardless of whether any of our customers do it or not. We make it immediately available to all our customers on our support portal. So we feel confident that this is something that would be of huge benefit to most customers.
Okay, thanks, Charul, for addressing all the queries. With this, we conclude today's session. Thank you for sharing your time with us. Charul, thank you for addressing today's webinar. See you all at the next webinar. Yeah, see you all at the next webinar. Thank you all, and don't forget to try Sentient. It's available. Free trial is available. Just log on to our website and get on to Sentient page.